Late on the night of November 15th, 2004, the Queensland coast is quiet. The humid air hangs heavy over cane fields north of Bundaberg, and most homes along the line have gone dark. While the region sleeps, one of Queensland Rail's flagship services is still moving at speed. The diesel tilt train, running north from Brisbane toward Townsville, carries around 150 passengers and a small crew through the darkness. Inside the carriages, people are stretched out in reclining seats, half asleep, watching movies, reading, or quietly making their way to the club car. For almost everyone on board, it's an ordinary overnight journey. Few realize that within minutes, this routine trip will become one of Australia's most serious rail accidents, and one of its strangest, because no one will lose their life. The tilt train was a symbol of modern rail in Queensland. Built with sleek stainless steel bodies and an active tilting system, it could lean into curves and maintain high speeds on narrow-gauge track. It cut hours off long-distance journeys and represented the closest thing the state had to high-speed rail. Earlier that evening, the service departed Brisbane's Roma Street station on time, running smoothly through the first part of its journey. By around 11 p.m., a crew change took place, and a new driver and co-driver took over for the night run north. On board were families, backpackers, students, and business travelers. 157 people in total, all sealed inside a train moving fast through the dark. North of Bundaberg, the railway alternates between long, straight sections and tight coastal curves. In many places, trains are permitted to run at up to 150 or even 160 kilometers per hour. But near Cabbage Tree Creek, close to a rural area called Berajondo, the rules change abruptly. A sequence of sharp bends requires trains to slow dramatically to just 60 kilometers per hour. Drivers rely not only on signs and warning systems, but also on detailed route knowledge built through repetition and memory. On this night, the train passes through the high-speed sections without issue. The ride is smooth, the tilt system working as designed, and the carriages remain quiet. In the lead cab, however, something subtle begins to go wrong. Outside the windscreen, it's pitch black. The moon has already set, and beyond the reach of the headlights, there are few visual cues, just trees, track, and the occasional sign flashing past. At one point, the co-driver steps out of the cab briefly to make a drink, a routine action that normally carries little risk. But for those few moments, one of the system's most important safeguards disappears. The second set of eyes, whose job is to confirm signals, locations, and speed changes. As the train approaches the slow speed zone, it passes a warning magnet designed to alert the crew. The vigilance system responds as intended, but the protections don't force a decisive reduction in speed. In the cab, the driver believes the train is still further back on the line than it really is. Just before midnight, the tilt train enters the first 60 km/h curve at roughly 112 km per hour. Data later shows power being applied almost until the final seconds, followed by an emergency brake application when it is already far too late. The physics are unforgiving. The leading power car leaves the rails and rolls onto its side at high speed, plowing through ballast and dirt before sliding more than 100 meters. Behind it, the baggage car and 6 passenger coaches derail violently. Some jackknife nearly sideways, others are shoved off alignment, and one carriage is pushed dangerously close to a nearby road. Only the rear power car remains mostly upright, though even it suffers a partial derailment. Inside the train, normal life collapses instantly into chaos. Lights cut out. Passengers are thrown from seats into walls, luggage racks, and each other. Overhead panels rip loose. Bags and suitcases become airborne. A small number of people are ejected from the carriages into the darkness, while many more are trapped among twisted metal, broken glass, and tilted floors. Fear spreads quickly, fear of fire, fear of live overhead wires, fear that help may be far away. On a nearby property, a farmer hears the thunderous crash of metal tearing through the night. He runs toward the sound without stopping to dress. What he finds barely resembles a train. Silver carriages scattered across a paddock, fences flattened, one coach wrapped around a tree, and damaged overhead wires hanging above the wreckage. His wife, a nurse, begins helping survivors almost immediately, checking who can walk, who is badly injured, and who simply needs reassurance. Neighbors arrive with chainsaws to clear fallen trees, blocking access for emergency vehicles. Back at the rail control center, alarms trigger as power circuits trip north of Bundaberg. At nearly the same time, a passenger manages to call emergency services to report that the tilt train has derailed. Within minutes, Queensland Rail and emergency agencies understand the scale of what has happened. Firefighters, paramedics, SES crews, and police converge on the site, working through the night in mud, darkness, and debris. Unsure at first whether the overhead wires are safe, responders move cautiously, extracting injured passengers and guiding others away to ambulances and buses. Survivors sit wrapped in blankets in the paddock, waiting as the long night slowly passes. By sunrise, everyone has been evacuated. Around 120 people are injured, with more than a dozen suffering serious harm, including the driver. Given the speed and violence of the derailment, investigators and responders are stunned by one fact: no one has died. The outcome is later attributed to strong carriage construction, the way the train slid rather than struck solid obstacles, and pure chance in where passengers were seated. In the aftermath, multiple investigations begin. Queensland Transport, the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, and Queensland Rail examine every aspect of the crash. The data recorder is analyzed, the track and signaling inspected, and crew actions reviewed. No mechanical failures are found. The rails are intact. The train itself is mechanically sound. The conclusion is difficult, but clear. The derailment was caused by human error. The driver lost awareness of the train's exact position and entered a severe, speed-restricted curve, far too fast. With the co-driver absent from the cab at that critical moment, one of the last safety barriers was missing. There are no criminal charges, but the consequences are extensive. Repairs to the train, track, and overhead systems cost tens of millions of dollars. Compensation claims follow. More importantly, the safety response reshapes operations. Rules are tightened around cab staffing, warning systems are improved, and automatic train protection is progressively introduced on tilt train routes. For a time, maximum speeds are reduced, and even when higher speeds return, the old ultra-fast schedules do not. Today, tilt trains still pass through the quiet cane fields near Berajondo. The curve remains, but so does the memory now embedded in software, procedures, and hard limits that prevent the same mistake from happening again. The 2004 tilt train derailment stands as a rare kind of disaster, a crash that looks catastrophic, leaves more than 100 injured, yet claims no lives. It is a reminder that speed and safety only coexist when every layer of protection holds, and that when even one fails, the margin between routine and ruin can vanish in seconds.